Wobba bobba booer, hello guys and welcome back to another Doctor Who Series 10 episode review. As you can see, I do sound a little bit better this morning, but I'm still not my best. But whatever my health is, I'm still going to do this review for you. So, Doctor Who episode 6 aired last night. It was entitled Extremis. So let's jump right into it. So first of all, if we start off, it's showing like the Earth and whatever, and there's another voiceover, and obviously last week we also had a voiceover. I don't know if that's a theme they're trying to do this season with a lot of voiceovers at the start of the series, at the start of episodes. I don't know. We got our first previously trailer of the series at the start. Who knows? And then we get taken to this place a long time ago, and they're talking about the execution of a Time Lord. And then I thought at that moment, is Missy in the vault? And then you see the vault come out of the water at the same place as Missy's about to get executed. So you're just like, Missy's there. Missy's the one in the vault. Missy also then finds out that Clara died, which I forgot that she didn't even know. But yeah, Missy finds out about Clara, and I don't know if she wants to maybe comfort the Doctor. Who knows? Wait. Did Missy find out about Clara? Because she says to him, "You look really sad and lonely. What happened?" And he just looks at her blankly. And she's like, "Oh, well, my condolences or whatever." So does he remember Clara? Or was that just another continuity error? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if she was referring to Clara's death and the Doctor knew about it. And then we go back to the future, and then that's when the Doctor says, "Missy, I need you in there," or whatever he says. So that's basically, we find out that Missy's in the vault. And obviously, Michelle Gomez did say, "Don't get your hopes up," because it was a bit of a shit reveal. Like, we haven't even seen inside the vault yet, but we know who's in it. And then we go back to the past, and Missy's begging for her life. And then we go to some room, and the Doctor, I think we go back to the future, and the Doctor stood in a lecture hall. And it's all dark. And when he was stood in that lecture hall, the first shot when you just see him in an empty room, it reminded me of the episode of Sherlock where he's in his mind palace, and he basically he's in like that conference room, and there's all the different people, but then at the end they sort of just disappear. It just reminded me. It's the one with the Mayfly, the Mayfly man. I don't know, just the way the Doctor was sat in that empty room, it just reminded me of that. And I don't know if that was supposed to be an Easter egg or what have you. Let me know in the comments below if you think it was supposed to be an Easter egg. I don't know. And then we get to see the Pope. And then they're talking about this Pope, this female Pope, that I don't know the name of, but they're talking about some female Pope. And at that point, I thought, wait, the Pope isn't going to turn out to be Missy, is it? But then when we actually see the Pope, the painting of her, it looks not like her, so I don't know. And they keep talking about the Veritas, which I actually looked up last week, and I'm pretty sure it's the Greek Latin word for truth. So that's why they're constantly saying, like, the truth. And I think next week or the week after, I think next week and the week after that is actually we're getting like a 3-part monster here. Because obviously, we'll talk about it in the next time trailer, but the villains in this episode were in the next time trailer. And this writing that they keep talking about, the actual Veritas itself, this book of truth, people have been killing themselves because of it. And then Bill's like, having her own time, which I'm glad about that, because I like it when you get to see the companion kind of have her own life, and then the Doctor just gate crashes it. So the Doctor turns up, and then he crashes the date and brings the Pope with him. And then the Doctor, he's back in the TARDIS, or I think, or wherever he is anyway. And he uses his sonic screwdriver. And at that point, I went, hang on a minute. How has he got a sonic screwdriver? It was broken last week. But then, I later on, when we find out the truth, there's an explanation for it, but I'll talk about it when we get to that bit. And then we go back to the past with Mrs. Execution, and Nadal is reading from either the Doctor or River Song's diary. I think it's River Song's, but I'm not sure. And we get to see how Nardole met the Doctor again, like before series 10. So we basically get to see what happened between between last year's Christmas special and series 10. This is what happened basically with Mrs. Suicide. So we find out why. And then, so Nardole then says that he has permission to kick his arse. Now, I'm surprised they haven't had complaints about that yet, because you know what people are like, all these parents that are really crazy. They watch Doctor Who or they watch TV and someone says a slight bit of foul language, and then it's not even that foul, but and then she's like, and then they're like, oh no, Doctor Who wasn't on before the watershed. He said arse. I don't care. If anything, the swearing adds to it and it makes it more realistic. And then we finally get to see the library. And the first shot of it reminded me of the TARDIS library because it's that big. But then it did also remind me of Silence in the Library with obviously Alex Kingston and David Tennant. And then I like the fact we kept having these constant flashbacks to the past with Mrs. Regeneration. So to an extent, this episode was like 2 stories in one. You had a story going on in the past and you had a story going on in the present. And then we get to see some sort of portal of light, and it's like, wait, what? What's this portal of light? What's on the other side? We don't know. And then there's this vicar, and he's holding a gun, so you're like, oh my god, he's going to kill himself. And he says, I've sent it. And he sent an email with the Veritas on, which the Doctor then uses later on to try and read the Veritas after the villains turn up, but it doesn't work. But then, obviously, it turns out that the vicar was actually the missing translator. But then he does kill himself. And then we go to Bill and Nardole, and they're walking along, and there's a shot where they're looking in the back, and you can just see on the background there's an engraving on the wall. So at this point, look behind Nardo and Bill. Look behind Nardo and Bill at this point, and you will see that there's an engraving on the wall. Now the engraving, it looks like the needle, Nefertiti's needle, and the big, like the big sort of structures that then come to a point at the top that they call the needle or whatever. There's one in America as well, opposite the Lincoln statue, I'm pretty sure. Well, there's one of them engraved on the wall. Now, they are also the same shape as back in Series 8. There was those, in the trailer for the Series 8 thing, people were speculating about these two black tower type things that just were on either side of the door, and they were the needle shape. And people actually thought it was Mrs. TARDIS or the Master's TARDIS. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but I think it could be something that's going to play out a little bit later on. And maybe it was the Master's TARDIS, and we're going to find out that Missy was following the Doctor before we even found out who she were. And then Nardole and Bill walk towards the light. And I'm pretty sure in the episode Flatline, or an episode of Series 6, the Doctor said, never walk towards the light. Something bad always happens when you walk towards the light. So they walk towards the light. Anyway, then we get to see in the past the Doctor pledging to guard Missy's body for 1,000 years. Okay. Which I thought was really cool. I don't know, it was just, I think that the Doctor we find out about the Doctor taking his oath, and we get to find out about what Nardole's always on about, when he's like, but sir, you took an oath, you swore an oath, and now we know what that oath was. Then we suddenly end up in the Pentagon, and Nardole and Bill just walk into level 3, and that woman's like, you have clearance for level 3? They're like, of where? She's like, of the Pentagon. And you're like, wait, they're in the Pentagon all of a sudden? They're in Rome, and then they're in the Pentagon, and that shits them up. You see it does. And then we see that they're actually in a portal room. But then we leave Nardole and Bill off on their own, and we go back to the Doctor. I always love it in a Doctor episode when the companions are separated from the Doctor, and they have to kind of use their own knowledge to work things out. And then we're back with the Doctor, and he's sat in a chair. He's going to read the Extremis, and the monks show up. The villains of this episode, I believe, are called the monks. If they're not, correct me down below, but I'm getting this information from the Doctor Who fan show. When the last trailer for Series 9 was released, people were saying they looked like the Pyrovile sisters, but she then said that they were actually called the monks, but I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then we get this, the Doctor's, he runs off and he's trying to read this test of shadows. And when I saw the test of shadows, I went, oh my God, they're in a library, they're talking about shadows. That is an absolute Easter egg for the Vashta Narada, as Silas of the library. Which obviously is now the point where Riversong is, because that's where she went after, what's it called? I can't remember. That's where she went anyway after that Christmas episode. So in effect, she's dead now, but the Doctor could always go get her from that planet with the 2 singing towers. Anyway, one thing I like that they've done, which I'm not too fussed about, which a lot of people are fussed about, but I'm not fussed. The Doctor's blind. He was blind halfway through last episode. He was blind the entire of this episode, and he's going to be blind next episode. And I really like that because it makes the Doctor look weak. But they've taken this core thing of his, and basically the Doctor's just cheating, really. You know, he's got some sort of things in his glasses that allowing him to be able to see. Which, that's really cool. And then we jump back to Nardole and Bill, and they're in some room with some doctor guy, and he says to them, say a number. And every time they say the number, it's the same number. And they call this shadowing. This is the shadow test. And then we go back. Then they manage to exit because obviously, one thing I will notice is when he's asking them to this crazy doctor, when he's asking them to say the number, he's banging on the table, and it reminded me of the sound of drums. I don't know. I feel like every episode this season they've put some sort of banging in that's kind of like the sound of drums. And I feel like in the finale when we see John Sim, he's going to say it was there all along, like the sound of drums. And then it's just going to have a montage of everyone banging 4 times throughout the entire season, just to kind of basically be like, it was in your face. You know, the master was there. But I don't know. That could just be speculation. But do comment down below if you agree with me. And then we go back to the portal room. And this is one of my favourite parts of the episode, because this is where I actually begin to like the character of Nardole. He proves he's not dumb. He comes up with the theory that they're all simulations. And at that point, I went, hang on a minute. The Doctor's Sonic suddenly fixed. It's a simulation. That's how the Sonic is fixed. The Sonic is a simulation. So if the Sonic doesn't get referenced to be fixed next episode, it means next episode is a simulation as well. Which could explain why Pyramid shows up overnight. And then Nardole goes towards, like, outside the circle of light, and it turns out he is part of the simulation himself. And he gets absorbed into it. And the way they kept talking about this simulation and computer systems, I was having absolute Matrix vibes. Let me know if you was thinking of the Matrix as well, because I ultimately was thinking of the Matrix. And then we go back to the Doctor. Because Bill follows him, and we then walk into the Oval Office. Now, I'm pretty sure it was the same set they used for Series 6. If you guys know anything different, let me know, but I'm pretty sure it was the same set from from Season 6. And just seeing the 12th Doctor sat in the Oval Office just reminded me of Series 6, and it reminded me of how the 11th Doctor just sat in the President's chair. And the President of the episode is actually laid dead in a chair. And the Doctor goes on to explain that all these suicides, they weren't suicides. They were people escaping the simulation. So in effect, the Doctor says you have to kill yourself to escape the simulation, which then explains why those people earlier in the episode that were banging and asking them to do the shadow test had strapped bombs to kill themselves. They were all going to kill themselves so that they could escape the simulation. Yeah. And then the Doctor, the monk, for some reason, Bill then goes into the Matrix because she's touched by one of the monks, and then he's there and he starts talking to the Doctor. One thing I like about these is they're so creepy. Even my little sister, she's 10, but she was scared at this episode. And I always love it when a Doctor Who episode goes down the scare route. So maybe they have finally scared some kids with this episode. So, yeah. And the Doctor then basically says that he's sending his memory file so he remembers who the monks are and how to defeat them. And then it says that he's sending an email, which then explains why, just before the opening title sequence, there was the email that popped up that said Extremis, because the Doctor sent that email. Then we... so they're to an effect, the Doctor asks himself for help. And then we go back to the past, and the Doctor says to Nardole something like, I don't know, help me put this body in the vault. And at that point, I thought, hang on a second. Nardole helped the Doctor put Missy inside the vault. So why, in previous episodes, did he not know who was in the vault? I'm hoping it'll be explained next week, but Nardole doesn't know who's in the vault, or he didn't anyway, because before this episode, he kept saying whatever's in that vault has to be guarded and stuff like that. Like, he didn't know who was in the vault. Unless I just misunderstood that. But if you picked up on that, let me know, because is it a continuity error that they've made? Is it an accident that they've accidentally wrote in? I don't know. Okay, then the end of the episode, and it cuts to the next time trailer. A pyramid suddenly turns up overnight. Is it the possibility it is within a simulation unit? Are there? I'm pretty sure that was unit, but another branch of them. Then obviously the Doctor's still blind. And the big shocking twist in the series, at the next time trailer, was that the monks are still in it. Now, I'm pretty sure that this is a 3-part story. I remember hearing that they were going to do a 3-part story with the monks. It's a 3-part story. It's 3 separate adventures, but with the monks as the villain. So this today, last night you had, or whenever you're watching this, episode 6 aired, and you had them in Rome and looking at the Veritas and kind of setting it up. You then kind of leave it quite open, ready for the Doctor to go off on his adventure. You then see that they're in the next time trailer, so they're going to have this pyramid episode, pyramid at the end of the world, and then they're going to have a villain in the episode after that as well, I think, but I'm not sure, because I'm pretty sure the episode after next week, episode 8, is the Queen of Mars, but I'm not sure. I can't remember if it is okay, no, it isn't. No, I think this could actually be a 3-parter, because next week's episode is called The Pyramid at the End of the World, which we already knew. But then the episode after that, episode 8, is called The Lie of the Land. Now, I'm pretty sure The Lie of the Land by Toby Whithouse is also going to be about, basically, I from that title, I can imagine that it'll be about the lie, about life being real, and that they're in an entirely new simulation that the monks have created in order to set it up, I suppose. But I don't know. Let me know your theories. Then after that, we've got the Empress of Mars, which is the one with the Ice Warriors. And then you've got the Eaters of Light. You've got World Enough and Time. I don't have a clue what that means. And obviously episode 12, The Doctor Falls, which is a shit title for the Doctor's for the 12th Doctor's last episode of a series. But you know, all is good, all is good. So yeah, that about ties up this episode of Doctor Who Series 10, Episode 6 Extremis review. Leave a like down below and a comment on your thoughts on the episode. Overall, surprisingly to say, this episode was written by Stephen Moffat. I enjoyed the episode. It was a good episode. It was creepy, but I enjoyed it. So I was glad about that. So thank you for watching. I've been the Doc 11th, and you've been watching an Extremis review. Obviously, full of spoilers, but who cares? I'll see you next week, guys. Also, just before I go, head over to the gaming channel. I will leave the link down below, because on the gaming channel, we are doing Ultimate Injustice videos every day. So go over there and watch me play the story mode of Injustice. And also, on a Friday, we are going to be doing a story mode, not a story mode. On a Friday, we're going to be doing fighting. And me and Amber are going to fight each other like crazy. So yeah, thanks for watching. I've been the Doc 11th, and I'll see you next time, guys. Goodbye for now. Goodbye.